Okay, so this presentation on video recording of lectures divide up into three areas. First, we'll talk about the tools that you need to accomplish this. Second, the process itself of basically saving videos and uploading those videos so that your students can view those. And then finally, if time permitting, I'll talk about additional applications of the same software, the same tools, the same process that can be used in research as well as other educational endeavors. Okay, so I'm actually recording this tutorial, and the tools that I'm using consist of an iPad, and they range in price as shown there, some kind of pen, and again, I'm using a Bluetooth pen in this application. It's a little more expensive, but any pen will do well. And then electronic whiteboard application of some sort. So this is an electronic whiteboard that I'm using in this particular tutorial. But there are dozens of them out there, and the one I'm using is called Explain Everything, but there's others as well, and they're not too expensive. And I want to make it really clear here, and underline this in green again, that I am not endorsing any of these products. These are just things I'm using here. I'm not being paid by any of these people, and I have no interaction with them whatsoever. Okay, so the question came up from the audience about, don't you need some kind of an adapter to connect the iPad to the projector? And yes, indeed you do, and I overlooked that. So for this presentation, for what I do, I'm using a VGA to Lightning adapter. But again, this adapter would be the projector specific. So, but again, that is an inexpensive item. Okay, so now we have the tools. Let's go through the process. Of course, we've already opened the Explain Everything application. And again, all the electronic whiteboards work this way. We want to start a new project, and we'll get several options. So for me, most of the time, if I'm videoing a lecture, it's in engineering, I'm beginning with a blank document. But you could also begin with just any document that you have saved on your iPad. You could use a PowerPoint, text files, PDF, etc. And I'll talk more about this when we get to additional applications. But we'll be just simply using this blank format. And then the thing that I do, which is somewhat unique, is I use the Start-Stop button for real-time editing. So in other words, if before someone asked me a question about the adapter, I immediately hit the stop button, and then we had a discussion about adapters, and then I went back to the start button and I sort of condensed that question down to use in the video. So what I'm trying to do is essentially create and we could call it that, an essentials video lecture. So it's not, what I do is not meant to simply record the lecture from start to stop, but it's really to provide a succinct summary of the critical elements that I want students to know, and I want them to go back and reconcile in their notes. So many times we'll have peripheral talk, someone will ask a question not directly related to the subject matter, still a very good question, but I don't want it part of my essentials video, as I want to keep this really reduced in time so students can go back and look at really just a succinct presentation there of the course material for that particular day. In addition, you'll see it saves me a lot of time in uploading. So these videos have to be compressed and they have to be sent forward and so forth. That takes a little bit of time. So if you have a shorter video, then that all happens much more rapidly. I also need to mention that before Kaltura came along, which is what we're going to be using here today, I've been doing this 4 or 5 years and I had to create my own YouTube channel. And you can still do that. You can upload your course lecture videos to YouTube for a broader audience. But the thing to remember is that YouTube is restricted to 15 minutes. So I do use the start button again. I watch the clock. So all the electronic whiteboard software has a clock where it tells you how long you've been recording. And when I get near 15 minutes, I go ahead and just stop that project now. Stop the recording, and then I stop that project. I'll save that project, and then I'll start a whole new project. And so I typically, if you look at my YouTube channel, you'll see a lot of video lectures that are marked as Part 1 and Part 2. And that's simply because of the restriction that YouTube places on the length of each of videos that you can upload. Okay, so when I'm done with the lecture, I immediately save the project as a video, and I save it locally on my iPad. That's very important. I save it locally. And I'm also going to log into Kaltura from the iPad, so that when Kaltura asks me for the video, I'm going to be able to just obtain it locally. The problem you have with videos, you can't email them around because most servers don't allow you to email such large files. So what I do is just use the iPad, save it locally, and then log into Kaltura locally, and then I have a one-stop way of just uploading my video to Kaltura. Now, Kaltura is VCU's video archive system. It's great. It allows you to put your video lectures there and archive those, keep those for as long as you want to keep those. So as you'll see, it's really a place that you can store your videos. So I will always go back. My last step is I'll delete the video from my iPad because I don't want it to occupy space. Okay, so now we're in Kaltura, and in the right-hand corner of Kaltura, you'll see a little person icon, and then a down arrow. And if you look at your options under that arrow, there'll be something called Media Upload. So you go to Media Upload, and then go ahead and it'll ask you to browse, and you can browse your iPad locally. Grab the video that you just saved under your videos in the iPad and immediately upload that to Kaltura. And at that point, you're really done uploading your lecture. You can't access it yet. There will be about an hour delay where the video will be approved by Kaltura. But the nice thing is, once you create your account on Kaltura, you'll automatically get an email message. You don't have to go looking for it. Kaltura will send you an email message that your video was approved. And again, it takes about an hour. The same thing's true for YouTube. There's an approval process as well. So whatever you load on YouTube is not immediately able to be seen by your students. It'll be about an hour or so delay on that. Okay, so now what I do is once I get that message, go to Blackboard, and under Tools and Communications on the left-hand side, click that button, and then under Tools and Communications you'll see Go to Media. And once you go to Media, then you're going to see all of your Kaltura video files. And at that point, then you can add that video to this particular course that you're under. So you can actually then, from Kaltura, you can upload that video to a number of different courses. You just go to that course, go to Tools and Communications, go to Media, and then you'll always see all of your Kaltura video files, and you can select whatever one you want to put into your course. So finally, as I mentioned, I will go ahead and delete the video from my iPad to save space. I don't want to keep all that space on my iPad. And also, Kaltura has saved it for me. So I can always go back and grab that video from Kaltura, and I can import that anywhere I want. So there's no reason for me to keep my videos on the iPad. Okay, so I've written down here several other type of applications with the same software, the iPad, projector, everything. Really, no new tools are needed. The one I like is you can record and annotate research PowerPoint presentations. So you can basically bring PowerPoint files into the electronic whiteboard app. and you can record research presentations that way, and also annotate those. You can archive laboratory procedures and video record different research techniques that you might be using in your laboratory that you want future students to see. So then you can also, as I mentioned before, rather than starting with a blank document, you can start with a text document or a PDF document in the electronic whiteboard, and you can again annotate and record. So basically the process also acts like an Elmo. In addition, you can broadcast across different rooms, so you can send whatever this electronic whiteboard you're doing to different projectors. So we do this in the medical school, where we have several rooms stacked on top of one another, and I might be lecturing in a middle room, and then above me it's being broadcast, and below me it's being broadcast, and the only thing you need for full interaction there is the microphone system. But other than that, you can solve a lot of room space issues by just doing multi-room broadcasting. And then what's on the horizon here, again, the technology's gotten better and better, are the sharing of electronic whiteboards. And so there you can do help sessions that are remote with students, and you can literally share those, and it works a lot like Skype. So you create a session, and then you invite users, and you actually can share then a whiteboard and conduct these remote help session applications.